Okay, this chair is in bad repair. I trying to think of a way I can patch this up, and I'm thinking I'm going to just cut this where these cracks are on the table saw and glue it together. I might cut a couple more cuts on the table saw and then square things up, and then I'll put a couple slices of flat stock in between, fill in the gaps from the blade widths that I cut out. But we have to do this. On the table saw. Move some stuff out of the way. Okay, now that I've cut this, I've cut them so they're quite square with each other, and they line up with quite small gaps. I should be able to glue these back together. I did this I started with one. I cut one end off. And then I set the fence up and cut that off. So now I have two square sides, 1 and 2. I then took that first piece that I cut off and put it up against that piece and cut it a blade width off of it. So I lost a blade width off that. And then I ran the big piece through again and cut off another piece. There was another, one of the lines was on an angle, so I freehanded that one. Freehand cut it square on one side. On the gap, clean it out a bit, and then I squared it off again up against one of these other blocks that I cut with the fence. And then when I was done that turned it around, did the other side, made sure it was square. And then I took my last piece that had been cut off, which seems to be small rock to it, not too bad though. I don't think I'm gonna worry about cutting that one up anymore. I could do one more segment, smaller segment like this one, and then make that even a little more flatter. But I think for a chair seat it'll be pretty good once it's glued together. And then I square that up, and you run that last pass off, you shave off another little bit, so you lost 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 blade widths. So we just need to add a piece of wood into that now if we wanted to get back to the full size, or we can see where this leaves us. Back together, line them up, and I'll grab that chair bottom again. We'll see how much we lost. Well, you can see lost a fair bit with cutting all that wood out of there to line it up so the pieces will glue together again. What we could do is offer a strip of wood in a couple of spots to put it back closer to the size we need when we glue it back together. Then we can just cut that and shape it with our glue up. Okay, so I cut a piece of hardwood here a little bit longer than I need and a little bit wider this way. What I'll do is I'll trace the shape along there and cut it out on the scroll saw close to that line. Then I'll have less sanding to do when I glue it up. But for now, I'm going to cut it. I'm going to smooth the sides up on these. It's rough cut hardwood, so I need to smooth up the sides, and I'll just run that through the saw here and get it smooth enough for a glue up. Not necessarily smooth, but smoother than those rough cuts. Seems like them rough cuts were a little deeper than I thought. So run that again. A lot smoother. That'll be good enough for a glue up. Now I just need to take the other rough edge off. Okay, so that's close enough. So that will fit up nicely, and I'll glue that together. Let's shape that for now. So now we'll just draw that shape on there and cut it out on the scroll saw. And then we'll glue this up. Draw my lines. I draw along here. And draw along here, following this contour. There. Now I just have to cut on the outside of that line, and I have a lot less sanding to do when I piece it together. Draw on this one, and you can see the divot here where the seat of the chair is. And I just follow along like that. And I do that. Now, I'm going to just take those pieces out and cut them on the scroll saw. And then I'll glue the whole thing together and clamp it up and let it dry for a few days. And then when I'm done, I will turn them over, and to keep it from splitting again, I will put a router groove across in a couple spots. I'll end it before the edge of the wood here, but I'll go across here once I've got everything lined up and glued together, and I router across a slot, and then I make a little strips of wood that I lay down inside them flush. And I just round the ends of the little strips of wood when I make those. Cut them the right width for the router bit that I use. And that'll leave my cross extra strength, keep it from splitting apart again later. Okay, so I'm cutting these pieces out on the contour here. I started cutting without the camera, but I'm cutting these pieces along these contour lines to match the seat. The slivers of wood that I've removed from all the material I removed with the saw cuts. So I'll turn this on and I'll keep cutting along just outside the line so I have a little bit to sand off once I glue it up. We got our pieces cut up and we'll just glue those in and clamp up the seat. Alright, so we've cut our pieces and they should match the contours of our chair here. And we'll glue these pieces in here. You can see the contour is pretty close. So when we patch that in, we should be able to sand that flush with the other pieces. And the other one was on this end here. And you can see it should be fairly close. So now we just glue this up and clamp it all together and hope for the best. Bunch of glue on here. Put some glue on the last piece here. And we'll try and fit that up as good as we can. Line things up as close as possible. And we've got some clamps, so we'll use those. Forgot how to use them. Haven't used them for a few years. I'll put this up here. Thank you.
forgot the lovely assistant part.
My beautiful assistant. Just gotta mess around with this until you get everything lined up and clamp together. Use this block for the top portion. Okay, I got that hammer. So now I can line things up with the hammer. If that doesn't work, find a bigger hammer. There we got that lined up, not bad. And we're going to put a clamp on this. Help control it this way from come apart on us like it did before. And this other side here. I don't think I'm going to need too much more than that. Try and line up the top edge, except for these little slats, they don't matter. But if we line up the other main boards, we won't have as much sanding to do because we're going to sand this to get these contours to make sense. And I think that's pretty close to where we want it. Yeah, that makes good sense there. All right, that's clamped enough. We can let that dry. And that's it for now.